Hello everybody, this is Dr. Novak. My last video was about a course that you could take from, it's called Anoxic Filtration 311. If you hadn't seen it, you could watch it. Two things I didn't bring up. One, there is an instructor. So if you take the course and you have questions, there is an instructor. The second thing I didn't bring up also, there are tests. To make sure you understand what you're learning. Makes sense, right? A lot of people that say, oh, the system doesn't work, it won't do this, it won't do that. You know, they need to really take the course so they can know what they're talking about and understand the anoxic filtration system. I mean, it's not that expensive. It's no different if you were going to go out and buy a book and want to read it. But this is one way of learning. There is science behind it, which I also mentioned in the last video. It can get a little complicated, but for some people who like to, what can I say, want to keep things the way they are. They don't want to progress. They still want to go with antiquated means or means that can't be even proven scientifically to work. They can never prove it, you know, where the research is. This is something that has been researched, is used, and of course is used by the United States government. Now, whether that means anything to anybody, I don't know, but why Aquarius have to do things and go across the grain and make things their own way, I don't understand that. Anyhow, I just thought I would bring that up. Another thing I want to bring up, I talked to a fellow up north here in the United States, and a guy named John, real nice guy, and we got talking about several things. We talked for quite a while, and John, we were talking about canister filters was one of the subjects we got on. He said, oh, I wish I would have watched your videos on your F-zone and 88 filters and stuff before I bought my filter, but I bought the filter anyway, and he hadn't started using it yet. It's brand new. He says, I would have opted to go with the F-zone. And I explained to him why I did that, why I went with the stainless steel canister filters like the F-zone. They do have a 15-liter one, I think, on Amazon. I can't seem to find the 10-liter one at all. They make a 15-liter one. That's a pretty good size canister filter. In fact, it's equal or a little bit, it's bigger than the Eheim 2217. So if you look at the Eheim 2217, that's like the F-zone, because I noticed that parts from the Eheim 2217, like the some of the grates that are used in the 2217, fit the F-zone perfectly. They're just made out of green plastic. So you can see that the internal ID of the 2217 and F-zone's just a little bigger on that ID, but it fits. So you can see where you're getting about that size of a filter. And we were talking about that. I said long ago filters used to have separate pumps. So the pump was on top, like your F-zone, your 88. If the pump went out, you can replace it quite easily, and you can replace it with something that you liked. And especially today when we have AC pumps versus DC pumps. So that makes a big difference. When we were talking about that, I said, well, manufacturers are never going to rate their filters correctly. He said, yeah, there ought to be a law against it. Never has it been that you could load up a filter and get the gallons per hour that the pump claims. I said, yeah, they ought to show you how to set it up, then have a reasonable height, head height, with the tubing that they're giving you with the filter, and rate the gallons per hour that way. That way you know if you were going to buy one of these filters and it says, I'm just giving this example, 350 gallons per hour, right? Uh, you then in turn can see if I load it exactly the way I'm using this only as an example. You can add any name in there, Eheim, Fluvo, Sun. You add the name of what you want in there. But if they load it up and show you how they load it up, and you do the exact same, and then you have a reasonable high aquarium like everybody does, and they give you the gallons per hour. I said that would be the best way to rate a pump. Nobody runs a pump without tubing on it, and nobody runs a pump empty. And they're giving you the gallons per hour. I said completely empty. He complained that a lot of them have very little head pressure to them. I said, well, they're never going to change that. Once they started building motors and they institute them into the heads where you can't replace them, the most you can do with those motors is replace the impeller with a new impeller in case something goes wrong, which I have had. The magnet on the impeller actually cracked because it was so old, and so you would have to replace that. But when we were talking about that, I said they're looking at two things. First of all, they're looking at AC motors. They're looking for quietness, and they're also looking for wattage. They're trying to keep the wattage down. I said, if you get a motor, let's say like the Awaki motor that I use on the 88, it pumps 450, 475 gallons an hour. It gets hot. So if you go to touch it, the Awaki motor, it's warm. Okay, make no doubt about it. It has thermal fuses inside of it. If it gets too hot, it would cut out. I've never had it cut out. So apparently that's its operating temperature. But for a motor, that's how the manufacturer made it. It would be nice if they put a fan on it or something, but they didn't. They didn't feel it was needed. Okay, but like the Awaki motor is very expensive. It does 15 foot of head. So where is it that you can buy a 450, 475 gallon an hour pump that will actually do 15 feet ahead through a 5/8 tubing? Because that's all that will fit on that pump is 5/8 tubing. It cannot fit 1 inch. It cannot fit 7/8, which would be what, 25 millimeter for 1 inch. But it won't fit that. It fits only 5/8 tubing. I think 1/2 inch would be a little too small. You would have to really struggle to get on the pump. The point of it is when you get head pressure and you want the ability to pump a lot of water, you have the motor that's going to heat up. If the motor heats up and you have these built-in heads, you have to watch it that it doesn't heat up the aquarium. And that was a problem that a lot of people had with the Awaki pumps. If they produced a lot of heat, they're going to heat up their saltwater aquarium or their freshwater aquarium if the motor is not on the outside of the sump. If you had a sump, let's say, or it's on the outside of the canister filter, not on the inside. That Awaki pump is a $600 pump. It's not a $100 pump or $200 pump. It's a $600 pump. But 15 foot ahead, that means it has a lot of torque behind it. I've taken it apart and I've looked at it. The magnets are big. The way it was designed creates a lot of heat. So this is something that John and I were talking about. I said, another thing of why I went to the stainless steel, John, I've been in this hobby a long time. They're always breaking. These plastic, I don't know if they're making them thinner, which they could be, making plastic parts thinner. He said, yeah. His daughter had a Fluvo 6, and about 4 years ago, one of the little, it's got the Fluvo 6 has these little handles on top, maybe 6 of them. You tighten them down, just like you do the big Eheim. Eheim has a big filter. You have these little screw-down clamps. He said one of the clamps broke. Went to go get a new one. It's like $60 for a clamp. he said he fixed it for her, and it's been running now for about 4 years, the Fluval 6. But I said, yeah, if you watch DIY, he talks about owning a Fluval 4 or 6 and how many gallons an hour it can put out. He said there's no way that can put out that kind of gallons per hour. So it's kind of misleading. He said by the time you load that canister up and everything else, it's not going to put out the gallons per hour they claim it's going to put out. Nowhere even near that. In fact, we're finding out that some of these pumps, which are getting in the $300 range, put out less than half of what they're even rated for. See, that's not right. That's what we were talking about. That's not right. And he just got a new pump, very well-known pump, paid, I imagine, $200 for it. It begins with an O. I'm not going to say the name. He set it all up, never used it, got out, and the thing's leaking. He said in the plastic, in the molding, I guess there's a bump or something, and that's where it seems to be leaking. He said it's a defect in the pump itself. Now, does that mean it's a bad filter? No, but this is the reason why I said I spent a little more to get a little better. This is the reason I did the review on them. I want to look at it. I want to see how the manufacturer made it. I want to see, can it be repaired easily enough by the hobbyist in case something goes wrong, like the F-Zone ADA. If for some reason the gasket, one gasket on top, it does not work the same as the Eheim, the gasket lays down flat, another piece of steel goes on top of it, and you just compress the gasket. It doesn't have to fit into a ring. It doesn't have to fit into a slot that's been pre-made into the mold, and then you slide it in there, and you may have to put some Vaseline to make sure it slides. No, the O-ring just sets right on top. Piece of steel goes on, it compresses it. I said, if that O-ring were to go bad, I said you could run to any auto parts store. You could buy a big sheet for gaskets, and you can cut yourself a rubber gasket easily enough to at least get the pump back online with nothing more than a trip to the auto parts store to get a sheet of gasket to put on there, cut it, the OD and ID. You can cut it with an X-Acto knife because it's not that hard of a rubber. But that rubber is designed to last and take harshness such as oils and gas. I said, you can do that. I said, and it's up and running. Where we complain that you go to the aquarium stores, any of them, and they have no dry stock. No dry stock at all. You go there, a part's broken, oh, we can order it. Okay, I got to order it. So now you don't have a canister filter for a day or two or whenever the mail or UPS can get here to get it to you so you can get your filter back online. So we talked about that. I said, that's the reason I switched over, because I don't want the hassle. The motor breaks, boom. You can always carry a spare small motor on hand where you can get it back up and running until you can get a new motor of what you want and the size you want are from the manufacturer, if that's the case. Where with the Eheims and other ones, Fluvals and stuff like that, you're stuck with buying the whole head. And you're not going to get any better performance. It's going to be what it is. So I explained to him, this is the reason I did what I did, because it has versatility. There's downsides to it because it doesn't have little baskets in it. But I said, I really don't care, because I take out the stuff, clean it in the sink or with a garden hose, big deal. The other stuff that's disposable, I just throw it away. Don't even bother cleaning it, just throw it away in the trash can. If you have carbon, throw it away. It's no good. Put new carbon in if you want to use carbon. If you don't want to use carbon, that's fine. If you don't want to use poly filters, that's fine. You don't have to. You can just set it up with some sponges and stuff. And I found out that some of the sponges that they sell, I use from other filters for that filter, like the F-Zone filter, for example. You can go get the 2217 sponges, the round blue sponges that fit in the, and they fit the F-Zone filter perfectly. So you can go up by the Eheim blue sponges, and you can use them as your pre-filter before you start doing other stuff. So that shows you the versatility of that particular filter, that 15 liter. It's a big filter. It's heavy when it's filled up with water, because what? A gallon of water weighs 8.5 pounds, and it will take like 2 gallons of water it can hold, 15 liters. So right there you got the weight of the filter and everything else. But I was shocked when he emailed me and said the filter leaks. He's got it in a tray right now, and he said he doesn't know what to do. His problem was he bought the filter ahead of time, and he said it was in the box because he was preparing to get the tank and everything else, and time is set up. Well, a time's elapsed, so he can't send the filter back. So the only thing he can do is try to go off a warranty with the manufacturer. But that's something I did want to bring up. That another thing he brought up. He said up north. I said, you ever see these people? They turn around. I never heard of the anoxic filter. What is that? Something new? It can't be around. He said when he was up north, he goes, it's a mom and pop aquarium store, and he said there were 2 guys in there, and they were looking for under gravel filters, and the proprietor said, what do you want under gravel filter? Oh yeah, we want to make plenums. Oh yeah, for the anoxic filter. Here it is, a mom and pop shop. They knew about the anoxic filters because he was an old timer. Walked him right over and said, here's your under gravel filters to make a plenum. He knew all about it. So you got to kind of wonder, people who play ignorant and act like I've never heard of that, even though it's been around for 30 plus years. And then they say, I never heard of it. But he did tell me, and I thought that was very interesting, when he went into a store and he actually saw the proprietors knew what they were talking about to help the individuals right off the bat. So, you kind of wonder, now with the internet, with courses being taught, people that play dumb, are they really not dumb? Are they just acting like, I've never heard of that? What, you never watch a YouTube video? You never Google it? Sid Mitchell, just Google Sid Mitchell and you'll come up with the anoxic filtration system. He's written books. It's in all kinds of magazines. It's been written in magazines. I have shown you. And all of a sudden people are playing that dumb, like, I've never heard of that. Come on. If it was never published or anything, I would say, yeah. But since it's been published and it's also going in periodical magazines, come on, give me a break. And you're playing dumb. And this is 21st century. We got the internet. We got magazines. We got all kinds of ways to find out this information. And you're playing dumb that, I've never heard of it. So I did want to bring that up. I thought it was quite interesting that people know what's going on. So now they're starting to carry under gravel filter plates. And a lot of your old timers will say, when we had aquariums a long time ago, back in the 60s and 70s and stuff, when we used under gravel filters, I didn't have the problems I had today until I started using the new way of not using an under gravel filter plate. Then I've been struggling. So some of your old timers will always come up and make comments like that. I never had a problem, but now they're showing do it a different way, so I'm trying it their way, and now the problems are starting to crop up on me. So I thought I would bring that up, a little bit of update on the anoxic filtration 311 course that's out there by Koi International. I know it's never going to change, but it is something that bothers hobbyists. So this is Dr. Nowak. Until next time, thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. And I'll try to come out with more interesting videos. I felt this was interesting because it is something that's on people's mind, and they are getting sick of it. Manufacturers, if they're watching this video, you need to change. You need to start telling the truth, not deceive people with a pump with no resistance on it. You need to start rating everything with resistance and then telling the hobbyist so we can make an astute decision what we want to buy. Because, you know, if you think about it, you may want to go up to the next size filter just because it pumps more, you know, gallons per hour. You can turn your tank over more. You may want to do that if you find the truth. But if you don't get the truth, you'll say, oh, well, this pumps 250 gallons an hour. That's more than enough what I need. And then it pumps nothing near that, maybe 100 gallons an hour. And you're like, what? You know, I needed the 250. So thank you for watching. Until next time, this is Dr. Nowak. And don't forget to subscribe.